Hello, everyone out there in GEB 5118 land. My name is Chase Harrison, and I'm going to present everything that we need to present for this first week's class. I'm going to go in the order at which the professor laid out how we should conduct this discussion forum. So those 4 points in order. All right, let's get started. The first thing that our professor asked us to do this week is to create a 2-minute unscripted elevator pitch. Now, you know it's unscripted because I don't have my glasses on. Vanity is such a hard burden. So here it is. I am someone that for as long as I can remember has always needed to know what's around the next corner. I'm always moving, always traveling. And because of my time spent on 3 different continents, I've been able to gain some really interesting insights that I think could create a viable business. The first insight is that these younger generations, my generation and those younger than myself, have a tendency to want to purchase experiences over material goods. What's better for your life is something you can post on Instagram, something you can do to demonstrate that, yes, I have lived a life. And on the other side, we have these emerging markets in Latin America where middle class people, it's expanding at a rate faster than that of developed economies. And they are eager to spend that new discretionary income, and they want experiences. However, tradition of the past says, no, we can only spend money in X, Y, and Z. So I want to take those products that are X, Y, and Z and kind of flip them on their head. In Bogota, where I live, and I have lived for almost 3 years now, the market is saturated with language schools. You need to study language for almost any job here. You also need to study language separately from your university in order to graduate with your bachelor's degree. And most schools make you seek that somewhere else. I'm not interested in that. What I want to do is create a cafe bar. Cafe during the day, bar during the night, and recruit volunteer employees who come and stay for a short period of time and give me a few hours of their day, a couple days a week, in exchange for room, board, and an experience to be immersed in the Spanish language. When they work in the cafe, they'll primarily be focused on teaching their native language or simply having conversations in their native language with customers. Now, the customers will create revenue for us either by having a premium priced beverage and food menu or charging some kind of flat rate fee for services or special events that we host, depending on the schedule and the frequency and the quantity of foreigners that we can get at any one time. You're going to see, especially in Colombia, that people do not want to spend money on frivolous things. And I think that they're never going to give up coffee. Beer is also very popular here, and education is wonderful. If you can give a person an excuse to spend their money and it gets all 3 of those things together, I think we have a successful business plan. So the next part is to come up with a way to test if this is a viable business, what's my market. I understand that I might be biased considering my current profession, and so I created some surveys. One survey is in Spanish and it's intended for the potential customer, Colombian people here in Bogota. And then the other survey I created was for potential volunteer workers to see what the interest is, how they might want to experience that moment in their life, what they might need in order to sign on and say, I'm coming. So for the customer side, I got to see information, and I'm still receiving the information, I will put it in the description below, of how much coffee they drink, what frequency, do they purchase that coffee outside of the house in a normal, non-pandemic setting, what prices they're willing to pay, is there an ability to increase that price if it includes interactions with foreigners, and just general interest for what you might call intercambio, or an exchange, an oral exchange. So that's pretty cool. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. And then on the other side, I'm having a little less of a response, but that's probably due to general, let's say, laziness. I love you, America, but I think my Colombian contacts are much more eager to respond to a survey because I think they see it as a means to an end, whereas my US people maybe not. But still, I'm using that survey to see what they're interested in, what they might need to really sign on for 1 week, 1 month to do a volunteer work experience like this. Do they want to stay with a family? Would they prefer staying with other foreigners? Do they want to learn Spanish? Is that not really a priority for them? They're much more interested in an experience and seeing historical things, and they're just looking for a cheap way to travel. So with that information, I will be able to kind of gauge, okay, with what frequency could I have foreigners here with us? And at what price could I charge for exposure? This sounds a little strange, probably, to my fellow patriots, but we in the United States have a very special circumstance where we are constantly integrating other parts of the world into our own culture, into our own economy. Other cultures don't have that to the same extent, and particularly Colombia, which right now the main source of immigration is due to the Venezuelan crisis. And the cultures are distinct, I'm not saying they're not, but there's a lot that's in common. The language is in common. So they don't have that exposure of people from India and people from France and people from the Caribbean. They really mostly just have people from the northern countries of Latin America, and I think there's a huge appetite for foreigners, and that appetite got stronger when the borders closed for the pandemic. And once they open, there's going to be opportunity for people who are looking, I think. So that's how I'm testing things. Okay, so the part 3 is to fill out this business model canvas. I'm going to speak fast because there's so much information and I want to get it out, and I don't want you all to be watching a video that is as long as Harry Potter. So, key partners. Yeah, I'm going to need social media. I'm going to need to strategize with whatever is popular at the moment to get the word out about what we're doing, not only for our customers, but also for the volunteer workers that I hope to obtain. Word of mouth. I'm going to need the citizens of the city themselves to be my partner in this. We want a better city. We want more education opportunities. We want a better culture. Help me propel this change in your city. Um, we're also talking, of course, about the different connections I've made. I know Peace Corps volunteers. I know foreign language teachers from different countries. I can get the word out. This is probably going to help me get the word out to universities and students who might be looking for a way to continue their language learning trajectory in a different way. Key activities. It's definitely going to operate as a coffee shop during morning rush when everybody's going to the office. It's going to work as a place to buy a drink and just take a seat. Maybe bring your packed lunch, no problem. We're not a restaurant. As long as you buy a coffee or a soda, I'll be happy you're there. And then turning into a bar for the night. Some events that are based around language or international mixers, what they might be called an intercambio. We would do that for sure, no doubts there. Key resources. Above everything else, I need foreigners. I'm basing a lot of my faith on foreigners and being able to get them to come to the city. I had not spoken this fast in English in a long time. I also need the location to be somewhere safe. In order for people to express themselves, to spend money, to want to stay late, it needs to be in a good part of town, like any city. Bogota has problem areas, but we're going to try to go to a more affluent area. There's many places in the city where that's not necessarily an issue. And then, of course, I'm going to need the infrastructure, what you typically see in a furniture and ambiance. I want whiteboards all over my walls so people can share ideas. And I want to store cat. I think when you have a living being, an animal that hangs around the store, it kind of creates a life for that entity, and it creates a positive impression for people. Even if you're not a cat person, just knowing that an animal lives in a business, it makes you think. I don't know, for me at least. So the value proposition. I'm taking products that Bogotanos, already purchase, and I am saying, hey, let's add something that makes these purchases a little less guilty. Yeah, most people would agree. You shouldn't buy a coffee every single day out of your house. That's a huge cost. But what if that cost also came with the potential to have conversations with people in a language, and that language will help you to generate more earnings, to get promotions in the future? Then all of a sudden, your significant other, your partner, your spouse isn't yelling at you for spending 10% of your paycheck in a bar. They're now saying that, you know what? This is accomplishing something. It's a means to an end. Also, I think it's going to create a community for expats. It's a community of expats here in Colombia is growing. It's an affordable lifestyle. Safety is no longer as big of an issue as it may have been before with the stereotypes that most people are familiar with. Those stereotypes don't really apply anymore. And so we're seeing a migration, but we're not seeing a community, a place where those people can come together. And I would love to serve that expat community. It's something I would like for myself as well. Looking at customer relationships, I would love to go door to door if we're in a residential area, go to businesses, offer discounts, just get people in the door, get them to get excited about what we're offering, pick up what I'm putting down, so to speak, and just hoping that word of mouth happens. La Red de Abuelas, the Grandma Network, is the strongest network ever made by man. Grandmas gossip and they tell other grandmas, and before you know it, whole families know. And I would love to take advantage of those kinds of local community networks to build customer relationships. Channels. This is a physical store. There is no other way I imagine this. It is a post-pandemic, a new normal business. It doesn't operate. I can't have I can't have it be online. Otherwise, it doesn't have the same effect. And I think if other cities, other countries maybe don't return to the office at the high percentages that we saw pre-pandemic, I think Latin countries, and particularly Colombia, will be exceptions to that, not only due to uh, network limitations, but also because culturally they're just more unified. They're much more community dependent than necessarily than I would say, in my opinion, that we are as U.S. Citizens, Americans. Going over to customer segments, yeah, anybody live in Bogota or you work in Bogota, come on over. We'll serve you as long as you're an adult, of course. 18 and older to drink in Colombia, just so you know. No restrictions on gender, income, on any of that. What does it matter? Who cares? So that's not it. I do think, however, that our customers will likely be people that are affiliated with international affairs. It's a capital city, lots of government employees, lots of embassies, and we have a huge number of call centers. I will talk about that a little bit. It's not part of this, but hey, the minimum salary in Colombia for a monthly minimum salary is 1,015,000 pesos. That's $284. However, looking at LinkedIn, looking at CompuTrabajo, which is like monster.com for them here, the least paying bilingual job I could find was 1,400,000 pesos. So that means that if you speak English at an intermediate level, you're looking at a 38% pay increase from the minimum wage. And minimum wage is commonplace here. There's a lot of informal work, and these companies, because there is such high unemployment for informal, low skilled work, don't have to pay above minimum wage. So for you to be able to jump out of that and into a slightly better paying job, that that takes you again 38% increase for minimum wage just for being able to have an intermediate level of English. That's going to be a draw in. Cost structure. We have to rent the space, the utilities. We all know this. Design and infrastructure costs, sure. I'm going to need two or three employees that are not volunteers. I want them to be bilingual. I want them to be locals, people that grew up in Colombia at the very least. I think that will help create stronger connections to the community that maybe me as a foreigner, I would not be able to accomplish by myself. Revolving accounts with distributors, if you know retail, that's pretty typical. 7-Elevens and whatnot will have revolving accounts with Coca-Cola and peer distributors and things like that. And advertising as needed. If you haven't figured it out by now, our revenue streams would be beverages, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, depending on the time of day. Light food items, I am not interested in being a restaurant, but some finger foods would probably be prudent. Event cover charges, depending on how we structure it, that's definitely a source of income. Maybe my special events, you do have to pay a small fee to get in. And then, depending on the size of the space, I would hope to get at least a two-level space in the city. They're pretty commonplace here. I would try to offer some tutoring services or some consulting. You'd be surprised the opportunities that can come if you're open to. Yeah, that would be my lovely canvas. My business model canvas, my model, my plan. I hope you all like it. Why am I still talking? Let's go to the next thing. All right, and real quickly, just to close this out, how will I test my theories and my business propositions that I have? Well, I'm hoping that the surveys that I've created, that I've already mentioned, will help shed some light on that and kind of guide me. I'm also hoping that I can talk to other people. I know lots of language teachers, I know a few business owners, and I'm trying to gauge interest, ideas, limitations, anything. I'm open to it all. So trying to figure out rather this is something viable or if a version of it is viable, yeah, we're going to figure that out. And I suppose that's also part of this course. But as of right now, this is what I have. This is what I'm presenting to you. Well, you, the world. Well, like it's 16 people, but you get it. So thank you so much. If you've made it this far in the video, God bless you. And yeah, I look forward to your feedback and to seeing what you all have to offer as well. Take care. Bye bye.